it's really good to have you here.
It's good to be here. Thanks everyone for being here with us.
Brilliant. Tell us, tell us about just your beginning, your background. You were born in KZN. Tell us, what kind of kid were you, and what was that like?
Well, I was born in a small little town called Newcastle in northern KZN. I don't know if anybody's even heard of it. Are you from there?
Yeah, I do.
Great, there we go. So, I was born in Newcastle, and I guess I was a good kid. That's what they say. Quite involved in various things, you know. The whole thing started, I think it was 2017, if I remember correctly. We sat as a family, so my brother and my sister and her husband and my husband, and we just you were chatting and saying, what can we do to change things, you know, what, and that's where it started. So it was in parallel to me still being in corporate, that the ideas started coming along. And then so the background to the BuyMyStuff app was Jeron was a surgeon for many years in government across the country. So Durban, Cape Town, Durban, Port Elizabeth last.
Wow.
And he said, like, for 20 years he's been sitting in the hospital and looking at the queues coming in and out. You know, people come in for their medication.
Yeah.
And that queue hasn't changed in terms of the demographic and the situation of those people. And he said it just broke his heart because it's 20 years after, you know, change of democracy and things, and nothing's changing. People, you know, they're the same. So we sat and said, what can we do to help communities? How do we keep wealth within communities? Because we realized the problem is, and most people will relate to this, you get paid at the end of the month, and then you go to the big corporates, buy your groceries, and then the money's gone, right? So now the corporates are taking the money away from the communities, and everyone's struggling. And then you have like these little informal businesses that only, you know, can supply whoever walks past them at that point in time. But the big money's gone.
Yeah.
And that's how the idea came about to build this app called BuyMyStuff. And just some background to the app itself. Okay, before I go into that. So when I left Nedbank, we actually started a medical equipment business.
Yeah.
So that's so we started various business. I think my brother and I are like risk takers, and we just believe if you don't do it and fail, you can't say that I tried, you know, and you won't succeed. You just will be, no, I didn't do it. So we'd rather fail at something, learn quickly, carry on, and, you know, try the next thing. So so we've done various projects like that, but we started a medical equipment business, my husband and myself, and that did quite well because COVID came after that. Yeah. and there was a huge learning curve because while we're busy building BuyMyStuff, which I'll tell you about, we were also building this other business. And, you know, it was tough, to say the least, because here I had a very cushy corporate job. I had one for nothing, and all of a sudden there's no salary coming in, you know. So, and I think a lot of people would relate to this. You have to make it happen. You have to make it work. You know, it's the choice I made. I'm leaving corporate. I'm doing this. It's about persistence. It's about perseverance, and just being fearless. You know. So that was quite a journey for us, and in 2022 last year we moved from Johannesburg. This is my husband and I moved from Johannesburg to Durban because my brother's based there. Yeah. So it made more sense for us to be closer because BuyMyStuff was building up now. So we needed to focus on BuyMyStuff. Yeah. And I think that's another lesson in life is you gotta, as much as you're busy doing different things, and we still are busy with doing different businesses. You know, we've got a coffee shop, we've got properties and Airbnbs and a whole lot of things going around. You got to stop and analyze and review and think, is it really helping me, or is it really going in the direction I want to go? Yeah. And you have to have the courage to say, maybe I need to stop this. and focus on another thing that's actually going to make sense for me. And we had to do that, with the medical business. It didn't make sense running it in Durban. The market's completely different to Johannesburg. And our focus was on this app. So we decided, okay, let's wind that down. Let's change over and put our focus on here.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And what is the conversation like between you and your husband? Like, you got a high-paying job, and then you say, "Hey, we give that up and to run an experiment."
No, it's not an easy one to have, but it's also thinking long term. What do you really want? What are your goals? And also, within yourself what you're capable of. And I think a lot of people deep down inside, you can do it, but there's that overlying fear of what if, and I think we had that, but we also said, let's believe in ourselves and let's take that jump and do it.
And in your case, so a lot of times, like with family, sometimes like husband super supportive, but maybe parents skeptical or siblings skeptical. In your case, like, who was super supportive? We're not putting them on blast. And who was like, are you sure about that? And then how do you handle those type of conversations with people that are giving you advice? And a lot of times they mean well. Like,
absolutely.
They don't want you to suffer.
Yes, absolutely. No, we experienced that. My brother, I think, would be the most supportive, because he always said to us, I got your back. He was probably our biggest supporter in everything. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
So he was a brainchild of BuyMyStuff. Yeah. And then maybe my sister, she'll probably kill me for saying this, but she's a financial advisor, right? So she comes from a more risk-averse background. And so
like
she was
always
the careful one.
Yeah, what happens to a retirement annuity?
Exactly. So it, we had those discussions, and I think she thinks we're crazy, but she loves us just the same and supports us just the same. So it was a tough one, but I think we actually strong people as well. So I'm not gonna let that get me down. I'll take advice, and I'll take whatever somebody's got to say to me, but at the end of the day, it's still my decision in terms of what I want to do. So I think I'm not the type to get scared by the naysayers.
Yes.
It's more like, let me do it and then I'll show you. But
nice.
not in a arrogant way.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yes.
And then running those multiple businesses, how did you decide which one to focus on most and which ones to let go? I think you alluded to that, but how do you decide that?
So I think you would understand this. It's such a key thing to be able to focus. I was actually listening to a talk by Brian Tracy. I'm sure many of you know him as a motivational speaker. Yeah. And he said that the number one thing in business, and most people get it wrong, is focus. Yeah. Because there's two things to that. Being able to focus and then being able to focus on the right thing. Yeah. Because whatever you do leads to consequences. And it's very easy to focus on the things that are easy but have the minimal impact in terms of consequence. Yeah. And leave the big things that you need to focus on that's going to actually turn everything around. So I struggled with that, really, to be honest. And initially it was tough. We had to, many times I had to sit back and say, okay, I'm getting too involved in the day-to-day. It's like sales and this is happening and this customer's complaining and things like that. I had to step back and say, okay, let the staff deal with that. You have a team that's meant to do that. Yeah. I needed to sit back and be the thinker, and make things work from that perspective. And so BuyMyStuff the app was just developing at that time, so it wasn't that difficult. We knew where our focus was in terms of the money-making business versus the app that's still developing. So I think it came down to the point when we decided, okay, BuyMyStuff needs to take off. Yeah. So, we need to make a decision. And you can run multiple businesses. Everyone does that. But you also need to decide what's important. Yeah. For me, BuyMyStuff is, I think, the next unicorn of Africa. Yeah. And it makes sense for us to focus and give it our everything now, because if we don't, it's not going to be the next unicorn of Africa, you know. So the app started building 2019.
Yeah.
In 2021, we launched a beta test version of it. So it was the bare minimum, but like you alluded to earlier, there must be action.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have business plans and all these things going and nothing's actually happening. So we took it to market. And, you know, with that risk in the back of our heads, like we knew, okay, there's things that still need to get fixed, but let's take it to the market. We thought, oh, we'll get about 2,000 users. They'll give us feedback and we fix it. And this was July 2021 in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
We launched the app and had over 40,000 downloads in the next 3 months.
Wow.
So that was massive, and it was totally unprecedented. Thank you. So with that came, you know, it was awesome. We were like, wow, people love this thing. But we weren't ready for it. So our servers crashed. The app was lagging. There were problems. Like people wrote negative reviews. I'm sure everybody can relate. And so we had to say, okay, we're grateful for that. We're grateful for this user base. We took all the feedback. We sat with the development team and said, okay, let's fix this thing. It doesn't matter how long it takes us, but we need to get a super product coming out, because at the end of the day, your product is what sells, right?
Yeah.
So we went back. We made sure we're hosting this on proper servers. It was, but initially it was quite minimal. So now the app is hosted on AWS. It's worldwide. It's open internationally. We've got currency conversion, and we put in a whole host of features on it. So just to explain what BuyMyStuff is, because now I'm telling you about BuyMyStuff.
Yes.
So it's a marketplace app that anybody can buy and sell on. But the whole impact, remember I said it started from creating value within communities. So we wanted to target the small businesses, the informal businesses that maybe they're not registered, you know, so people can sell on Takealot and all these other platforms, but you have to be registered. You need to be showing a track record. You need to have big numbers to get there. So here we said anybody can, whether you've got a few small things you sell in your house, whether you do hair from home or nails, or you got a big substantial business, you know, that you want to sell your products through, you can get all the latest e-commerce technology completely free. Nice. And that was our key thing. It's free. You know, we're not charging anything. There's no transaction fees. It's there for, like I like what Sheila says, for Africa by Africa, you know. And that's the whole thing is, I can't say I'm helping the communities and then I'm charging you to sell on my app. No, that's not how I help you. So we've created this. Anybody can log in, get instant access to a store. Nice. And then other people can log in and buy, which is great, because you can have the stores buying from each other. You can have people, you know. It's got amazing features like geolocation is one of the key ones. So let's say I'm traveling, like this week now, I'm in Joburg for this event, and I can say, okay, let me see who's around me, what are they selling? You know, I'm looking for something, and now I can immediately see. It's like Airbnb that has the map, you know, booking.com. So you can see where people are, what they're selling. You can click on, contact them. There's a messaging, in-app messaging system as well. I think our most exciting feature that we rolled out now is the video one. So we sat back and thought, you know, what is it that everybody's hooked on now? It's TikTok, right? Yeah. TikTok, Facebook Reels, people love that. So we've created functionality in the app that you can upload a video of your product. So let's say Duchess, and you know, I do a really cool product, a video about this and advertising it, and upload it to my store on BuyMyStuff. Then we got a video reel section, so people can scroll. So you just like scroll like TikTok, exactly, it looks like TikTok. Nice. Scroll and, oh, I like this, you click on it, it takes you to the store. And then you can contact the buyer or the seller, you know, transact like that. So we've integrated that. You can share it, you can like it, you can follow. It's got all the features like TikTok does. And then, so basically we're giving people free access to marketing, to, you know, e-commerce on another level. Yeah. And cool thing is it is available internationally. So we built this app since that launch in 2021, and now we launched on the 1st of March 2023 officially. And to date, I checked today, we are over 167,000 downloads of the app.
Nice.
So thank you. that was, it's a great achievement. It's still growing though, because like anything new, you need to grow the user's trust. You need to, it's still, but the interest is there. And then we're focusing on the rest of Africa, which is also very nice now, because that's the market. And another thing is, that's the untapped market. So if you think about the digital economy and the digital world that everyone talks about, and e-commerce, that informal settlement market, small traders, businesses, no one knows who they are. They're nowhere because they're not registered. They're not anywhere. It's hard for them to just go and do an online store. They don't have the resources available. So now we're saying, okay, come, let us help you do that. We've partnered with Ayoba, which is really awesome. So through that, people can use our app through Ayoba and through MTN have it completely data free. So I think that's really awesome. Thank you, Ayoba. Especially, in the rest of Africa and the market we're looking at. But again, it's not just that market. It's any market. So that's been our growth so far. We've got lots of developments coming up soon, which are also really exciting. I don't know if you want to ask me about that later, or should I tell you about it now?
It's a conversation. So okay. Now, in terms of the, tell us now, the people want to develop apps, people want to launch apps. What was it like for you? What are some of the things you thought would happen and didn't happen, and then what really happened? In other words, how can you make their path shorter? How can they get the lessons without the scars?
Yeah, that's a key, absolutely a key question. So when we started, like I said, first of all, we didn't think about what if people love this app, and and I think a lot of businesses don't cater for what if it goes really well. Most of the time we think, what if people don't like this?
Yeah.
So that was the key learning, when the whole thing crashed initially, and we started getting bad ratings, and those are tough things to deal with as a startup business. And especially when you have investors looking at you and then looking at these things.
Yeah, how do you handle that? How do you handle bad ratings?
Well,
people give you a bad rating and a bad comment.
Yeah, so we would respond and say, listen, this was just a beta test phase.
Yeah.
And we will, this is the whole point. We want your feedback. And so we tried our best to respond to that. And then when we relaunched, and I think this was also the key thing, so having a good development team is probably the most important thing, because they can mess it up completely.
How did you get a good development team? Do you have an in-house development team? Do you have to hire a dev house? How do you do it, and how do you choose a good developer?
So we were fortunate enough to be in contact with a development team. They are in Pakistan.
Okay.
So it's not from South Africa. And initially, when we started chatting about this, they were sort of with us from the beginning. And they actually bought shares in BuyMyStuff because they believed in it that much. Yeah. And I think that was probably a good way to do it, you could say, because this is probably the most costly thing you could ever do. As a startup, having those funds to get the IC development is massive. So we obviously needed funds, but we negotiated a lot, and I think that's the key, having been able to do that negotiation. And then if somebody is developing for something that's partly their own business, they're gonna give it their all, and that's also I think we could say the success of that. So we've got an amazing team behind the app. So anytime something goes wrong, somebody, we're constantly in contact with the users. Somebody says, you know what, I think this doesn't look nice here, change it there. It'll change there, and we can't. So there's updates happening every week. And then we've got a whole list of big updates lined up.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that now. But I think those are the key things in terms of app development, is also keep in mind who your target is, you know, and what are you trying to do? Because sometimes you get lost in, oh, I'm building an app, you know, and you can get lost in all other frills and things that are not, it's not really catering to what your core offering is. So because we had brilliant ideas of how we're going to do this and all of that, and we had to step back and say, okay, let's do it in a phased approach. You can't bombard users with too many features that they don't know what you're offering. You know, so initially we thought, okay, let's push in careers, let's put in a payment system. We actually developed our own e-wallet system in the first round, where people could put funds in and then you could transfer funds to each other. So, you know, when you buy and like even just send money to other people, it's an amazing concept. We still have it there.
Nice.
But then we found people didn't trust this because they're like, okay, what is this new thing where I'm putting money into now, you know? So you had to think about all of that. And so now we actually removed it. We've got PayPal in because that now we know it's a proper certified payment gateway. Also, in terms of fraud, that's something you've got to think about in terms of a marketplace. PayPal has a really amazing fraud system, you know, that they pick up. So the money doesn't just go and get transferred immediately, things like that. So that helps a lot. And just also who you work with or who you partner with. Make sure it is reputable. Make sure it is anayoba. Do you know what I mean? Make sure it's people that can help you boost your brand, because, and you know, people then relate. They say, oh, MTN's behind you, or PayPal is there, you know, then I feel a bit more secure in what I'm doing. Now we integrating career systems, so we're doing the phased approach.
Nice.
So we be busy adding in, it will be, I think, 6 different career companies that people can choose from to send their goods, you know, with the sale. So there's a lot of development coming in. So that's also the key, is innovation.
Yeah.
So I started with the idea in 2019. And what it has become today is completely different.
Yeah.
I think it even blows our own minds when we think about it. So just to tell you a bit, so we thought about the market, and you know, it's a marketplace. People need to buy and sell. It's amazing. But our core offering was for small businesses, right? So what do small businesses need? First of all, I think everyone will relate to cost saving, right? Number one is costs. We've got a small coffee shop in Kloof in Durban, and you know, this software that runs your point of sale. So we have first-hand experience with them. You have to pay a monthly fee. You have to do percentage of your turnover, and if you're running a very small startup business, that's a huge cost. Then you got to buy the printing paper and all those other things that go with it. So we decided we're building in a point of sale system into BuyMyStuff.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So it's going to come out from the 1st of November with the web version. So if you've got a business, you can have your laptop there and full on point of sale, where you can print barcodes for your products. You can upload your products, or if you've got existing barcodes, like I can just scan this one and it will register it with this barcode, or I can print them and then, you know, you can scan, do your orders. So you can get orders via the app, and then orders via your physical store. And then we thought about, you know, like hairdressers, for example, or salons. They don't use point of sale. Why? Because it's expensive, right? So they just have people coming in and out. So we created an appointment system. So you can log an appointment. So you can, like via the app, say, okay, I want to come at this time, do whatever I want to do. It logs as an appointment. There's a calendar. And they can print out their appointment sheet for the day, or they can just add in customers. And it's, you know, like literally just a name or a phone number or whatever, and say this is what they did for them. So we're giving them a software tool, completely free, that will help them now. Because remember, what comes with business is you have to analyze. You've got to review. And if you write in every day on a book, you don't analyze that book, right? Now everything's there. You can print out a report of, okay, these are my sales, this is what I'm doing, this is working, this is not working, let's change it. You know, so
and then how have you handled like the actual payment? So you got PayPal integrated? What else?
Yes.
Like, how
So,
do people
they
pay?
are-
What systems do you use?
So they right now it's PayPal or cash on delivery,
Okay.
but we're busy integrating a lot of more payment systems. So
Okay.
we're chatting with MTN has the Momo
Yeah.
payment. So that's going to come because especially the rest of Africa, mobile payment is how
Yeah.
it's done. So now
Yes.
we've got to think about our target market again. Say, okay,
Nice.
if I'm in Nigeria, this is the payment system they need to use. They will
Yeah.
use, So I've got to
And-
bring that in.
And
So
PayPal
that's
easily
coming.
gets cancelled in
Exactly.
Nigeria. Yeah.
So
A lot of
PayPal's
times.
expensive. They've got their own charges. So that for us was just the initial phase in terms of the payment gateway. But there's so many, I was just chatting to Sheila now. Yoba's busy building their own things, and
Yeah.
eventually we will be able to partner with other payment
Nice.
gateways with more careers in different countries. Then it's international, so we need to look at international careers,
Yes.
the implications of that. There's so much that goes into
And
it.
we got a local career mapper there. It's like,
Oh,
he's
there
got
we
a career
go.
company is doing very well.
So
as
we
well,
must
it's super
chat.
Cool. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
So
And question around your failures. So, okay, right now, BuyMyStuff is doing well, all of that. Tell us about your failures, like moments where you're feeling, oh my gosh,
There's
what
been
the
a lot.
oof is going on here?
there's been many a tear cried.
Tell us about that.
And,
Like one
I-
main one. And what did you do? How did you handle it? What were the lessons?
there's been many, I can't.
We are
I
here
think,
all night. Let's go.
I think with me, it's like you have your moment and you think like, oh my gosh, this is happening. But I always think, okay, what is the positive spin on this? How do we bounce back?
Yeah.
The key is not to stay in that negativity.
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer in being positive, regardless of the circumstances. Not in a fake way, but the whole thing about your subconscious mind and your mind, and your subconscious can't differentiate between truth or lies. So when you tell your subconscious mind, or you say, I can't do this, or, this is the most terrible thing, my business is going to fail,
Yeah.
chances are your business is going to fail.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do it because your mind makes that happen. There's a whole science behind that. But, for me, that was it. And I'm not saying I just magically did this. It took time. It took time for me to grow to that point where I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And there are going to be failures. But I need to pick myself up and I need to carry on, So, there's countless. And I think one of the biggest issues or things that businesses face is funding, right? So you go and you do this amazing pitch to people and then nothing,
Yeah.
Or there's negative reviews now and then, things like that. So
And then which one would be like your successes? Which one are you feeling the most proud of? Like, when that happened, you felt like, whew, I am doing something amazing.
I think it was when we turned this app around like that, So we had the 40,000 downloads was, wow, okay, that's amazing. But the whole thing crashed at the same time, and there was a lot of negativity.
What does that mean? Like turning the app around? Like what did it entail? What is it?
So it entailed a lot of regrouping, analyzing,
Yeah.
saying what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, yeah.
How do we fix it? That's your biggest question. How do we fix this? So there were quick fixes, but then we were like, okay, so let's not fix it to the point of what it was before. Let's make it even better.
Yeah.
So that people now can say, okay, these ones are really really believe in their product. Because that's it. You have to believe in your product. You have to make it better than what it was before, even though it might have failed at that point. So there's continuous growth, there's continuous innovation. And even now, we launched 1st of March. This whole things that we're doing now till 1st of November, some of it only came up, like we thought of it recently. And we're like, no, but why don't we do that? And, it's constantly, so now we're building as an example, somebody said to us, but why don't you have jobs on your app? Because we got products, we got services. There's people looking for jobs. The small businesses want to hire, and then there's people looking to, you know.
Yeah.
So why don't we create a really nice app for that? So we now have a section in BuyMyStuff that's classifieds.
Yeah.
And in the classified section, there's a job portal. So going forward, we're going to create Tinder for jobs. So now we
Nice.
can match because we've got data. Remember, the value
Swipe
of this
left.
whole thing is data. We're sitting on gold mine of data. Now we can do a Tinder for businesses and match. And so you a business, and then we say, oh, here, talk to each other. You know?
Fantastic.
So there's so much that you can do to innovate and just make your product better, because it's, you know, it's constantly training yourself, learning, working with the team you've got. And I think that for me is also something very important.
Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to take questions. Start preparing your questions. Okay. And
Yeah.
then also you can tweet, thread. You can post on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
Any of the things that you're like learning, anything, any quotes, use at Pranary or hashtag Pranary at Pranary1. Cool. What would be your words of advice now, like advice to entrepreneurs? What is it that you believe strongly that doesn't get said enough?
I would say it is the focus, like we spoke about. You know, it's whatever you're doing at whatever time, once you decide that is the important thing to do, like give it your best, you
Yeah.
know, give it your focus for that moment. It's so easy to get distracted, and I'm speaking from experience. It's so easy to, you know, there's things happening, and then at the end of a month you look back and say, but what have I really done to grow my business? You know, so it's that, and having the proper vision of what your offering is. And I think tied in with that comes the business plan that everyone speaks about. But like you said, not to get bogged down into the theory of it, but more into, okay, I know what I want, I know what I'm going, but do it, you know, and don't be afraid to take that step. Don't be afraid to take that risk, because if I didn't leave corporate, and many people thought I was crazy, my bosses thought I was absolutely crazy to do this.
Yeah.
I
Like
wouldn't be
leaving
sitting here
companies like
today.
Investec.
Exactly, and you know what the
Nedbank.
banks do, right? They give us all these perks of low interest rates, and you have cars and bonds to pay, and
It
then
says
now you're
like,
leaving.
You're locked in a beautiful cage.
Yes, exactly. So just, you know what? If you believe you can do it, you can do it. And
Brilliant.
just take that risk. And I think another thing, you know, when it came to business in general, is there's so many aspects. And for me, the whole thing was a learning curve. You know, I came from banking, risk management. That helped me a lot. My banking, you know, just the corporate thinking, and, you know, even I think everything shapes you in the path you go in. It helped a lot, but I had to learn from scratch about HR things,
Yeah.
you know, employees, and then marketing, which is the biggest thing. And I think that was a huge learning curve for me, because, I mean, speak about marketing in the e-commerce world. There's so much to talk about in terms of digital marketing. So we do UAC, you know, your Google ads and leads that go, you know, getting people to click on and download your app. But there's social media marketing.
Yeah.
So how to do that, how to get it right, because, you know, again, you
Yeah.
could be wasting your money on things that's not bringing you back the
That's
value.
true. A lot of us just give a lot of money to Facebook and Google.
Exactly. Or you pay a marketing. I remember when we first started, and we laugh about it now, we paid a firm, another marketing company, like 120,000 Rand.
Wow.
And you must know, when you start in a startup, that's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Even when you're starting.
Yes, even when you're not
it's a
a
lot
startup.
of money.
So don't do that. Don't do that. But, you know, because we just thought, oh, we need marketing experts to do this for us. And then Tim, my husband, went and learned all the things himself. How do you do Google ads? How do you tweak the
Yeah.
audiences? How do you get your rates down? You know, you got to change it every day. And then we got results doing it ourselves. You know, so we literally, some of that was waste, that initial money, you know, what we learned the hard way.
Awesome.
So now I'm giving you tips. Don't go do that. There are some things that you might want to, you know, get expert advice in for. Do that. But whatever you can, teach yourself. Everything is learnable. There's nothing that you can't learn. You don't need Harvard to run a business. You don't.
I see. That's
So,
quotable.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
So, yeah, go ahead.
By the way, Tim is here, the husband. A big hand for Tim.
Tim said I
It's
mustn't put him
amazing.
on the spot. That's why I didn't
No,
say.
I am putting him on the spot. I got that power.
So another thing, so you can see Tim behind the video camera. So he's got an IT background, production, video, sound engineering. So we use him a lot in our marketing. He does videos for us, whatever we need to get done. Use the resources you've got. Don't go pay other people to do that for you.
Fantastic.
But I want to do. Can I take a few minutes?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Quick. Right? I think people find this interesting.
Yes. Let's do it.
I want to
Let's
show
do
you
it.
something. Oh, now I got to walk with this. Hold on.
Practical. Okay, it's practical.
I'm very
So,
practical.
It's coming. There's a practical lesson coming through.
For free.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
let me tell you about this thing, right? So now you might be asking, what does this have to do with business? It doesn't really.